You know, for years, we've heard one thing about vitamin D. Be careful, don't take too much. But what if the real danger isn't the vitamin itself, but the warning? In this explainer, we're going to dive into some evidence that suggests we might have been focused on the wrong risk this whole time.
And that's really the core question, isn't it? This idea that vitamin D could be dangerous is, well, it's pretty deeply ingrained in how we think about health. But where did that story even come from? We're going to dig into the source material that questions whether the foundation for this belief is as solid as we think.
So, these are the warnings we always hear, right? The big fear is something called hypercalcemia, basically dangerously high levels of calcium in your blood. And that can lead to kidney problems and other pretty serious issues. It's a scary warning, and it's the bedrock of the official story.
And that is the key phrase right there. We've been told this story, but the source we're looking at makes a powerful argument that this warning, it leaves out a much bigger part of the picture. And this is the question that just flips the whole conversation on its head. I mean, we spent decades focusing on the potential risk of taking too much vitamin D. But what if we've been totally ignoring the widespread, documented danger of getting far too little?
Okay, so first, let's just quickly break down that official story, the one that has shaped medical advice for years and years.
All right, so this number here, 600 to 800 international units. That's the official recommended daily allowance. Now, according to our source, this amount is just enough to keep your bones from falling apart. But it's described as, and I quote, biologically insignificant for most of your body's other crucial functions.
And here's why. For the longest time, medicine has looked at vitamin D through this super narrow lens. Its main job was just managing calcium to prevent things like rickets. This focus on bone health completely overshadowed pretty much everything else it does.
Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. This is the core revelation from our source material. It turns out your body doesn't just have one system for using vitamin D, it actually has two, and understanding the difference between them, well, it's everything.
First off, and this is crucial, vitamin D isn't really a vitamin in the classic sense. It's actually a powerful steroid hormone that your own body makes from cholesterol and sunlight. Think of it like a master key that can influence over 1,000 different genes, controlling huge areas of your health. And this slide just lays it all out perfectly. On the left, you've got the bone system. That's the one medicine focuses on. It only needs a little bit of vitamin D every few weeks. But now, look to the right. This is the immune system, and its demand is absolutely massive in comparison. It's running inside nearly every single cell in your body. It has a short 24-hour cycle, and it needs 8,000 to 10,000 IUs every single day to work right. The difference in need is just staggering. So you see the problem, right? The argument from our source is crystal clear. By setting the daily recommendation based on the tiny, minimal needs of the bone system, medicine has, maybe without even realizing it, been starving the much more demanding immune system.
And that, of course, leads to a pretty provocative question. If vitamin D is so critical for our immunity and our overall health, why is this massive second system so widely ignored? Well, the source suggests we should, follow the money. Our source basically asks this: what would happen to Big Pharma's bottom line if vitamin D actually works? I mean, vitamin D is cheap. You can't patent it. So the argument goes, if it were proven to be super effective at preventing or treating major diseases, what would that do to some of the most profitable industries in the world? Okay, let's take a look. Cancer drugs. We're talking about a $300 billion a year market. And at the same time, tons of studies have linked vitamin D deficiency to a higher risk of many types of cancer. And then you've got immune-suppressing drugs for autoimmune conditions, another massive $77 billion market. These are conditions where the immune system is overactive, the very same system that we just learned is super reliant on vitamin D to keep it in check. I mean, this chart really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? On the left, you see these giant, colossal revenue streams for cancer and immune drugs. We're talking hundreds of billions of dollars. And then way over on the right, you can barely even see it. That's the entire market for vitamin D. The source argues that this financial imbalance creates a huge disincentive to research a cheap, unpatentable solution. And look, this isn't just some theory. The source points to a major Harvard trial involving almost 26,000 people. And what do they find? Vitamin D supplementation cut the rate of autoimmune diseases by a staggering 22%. Just think about that. What would a 22% reduction in disease do to that multi-billion-dollar market? Okay, so with all of this on the table, our source says we really need to stop and recalibrate what we think of as the real risk when it comes to vitamin D.
This right here is such a simple but honestly a mind-blowing point. Our bodies literally evolved to make huge amounts of vitamin D from the sun. Just 20 minutes can generate 10,000 IUs, the exact amount that immune system needs. Now, if that was a toxic dose, humanity would have had a very serious problem a long time ago.
And this table just lays it out, plain and simple. On one side, you've got toxicity, which is extremely rare. It takes massive, prolonged doses to get there. And on the other side, you've got deficiency, which is incredibly common. Now look at the consequences. The risk of toxicity is basically excess calcium. The risks of deficiency, a weak immune system, higher cancer risk, cognitive problems. The argument here is that the scales are just dramatically, wildly unbalanced.
And what about that main risk of toxicity, the excess calcium? Well, the source argues that even that is manageable. It points to nutrients like magnesium and vitamin K2, which act like traffic cops for calcium. They tell it where to go, into your bones and teeth, and keep it out of places it shouldn't be, like your arteries. It's a critical piece of the puzzle that often gets left out of the conversation.
And so we come full circle, right back to where we started, but with a totally new lens. After looking at the two systems, the financial incentives and the data on actual risk, the question isn't really, is vitamin D dangerous anymore? The real question our source material leaves us with is this: is it truly safe to be deficient?